Welcome to the Clause YouTube channel.
Together, we strive for a safer, secure, and more stable world.
Good evening and welcome to Strategic Frontlines, the official YouTube channel of Clause. Today we will be throwing some light on the ever-evolving global nuclear conundrum. We have with us Dr. Rajiv Nayan, Senior Research Associate at the Manohar Parrikar Institute for Defense Studies and Analysis. He's an expert on nuclear issues, disarmament, and non-proliferation. Joining him will be our in-house nuclear expert, Dr. Roshan Khanijo, who has a vast experience in the said domain and has authored the book titled Complexities and Challenges of Nuclear India. With that, I request Dr. Roshan to please take over and begin the conversation. Ma'am, all yours.
Thank you, Yuvraj, and welcome, Rajiv, to this podcast.
Thank you very much for having me here.
And Rajiv is a good friend of mine and a very good nuclear expert. So today, as you know, the topic is nuclear chaos and unpacking some nuclear conundrums which are taking place. So I'll just like to give a little bit of intro that it has been now 80 years since the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Hiroshima and then subsequently on Nagasaki. And thankfully, that has been the only one. Now, knowing fully well the potentiality of the bomb, currently, globally, we have more than 12,000 nuclear assets. So things are not looking that good, especially in the last, we can call, say, last 3-4 years. Firstly, we find that the nuclear brinkmanship by nuclear powers, lowering of new escalatory postures, attacking nuclear facilities, which was a first in many years, and expansion of nuclear arsenals, emergence of EDTs, that is emerging disruptive technologies. All these are adding to the nuclear chaos, as also they are challenging the nuclear deterrence, ultimately, which will impact the nuclear stability. So, Rajiv, firstly, I would like to talk about the US and Russia nuclear postures. Like we have seen that the US President Trump's provocative statement that they are going to reposition the nuclear submarines, knowing fully well that the Russia is not going to get intimidated with this move, considering they have the largest nuclear arsenal. As also, we have also seen that Russia has also used the brinkmanship, and they have also amended their nuclear doctrine, making it clear that EU and NATO, they should not get involved in the Russia-Ukraine war. Now, all this rhetoric has done is it has brought nuclear issues to the forefront, and the disarmament and arms control has taken a backstage. So what are your initial views about the global nuclear scenario which is going on, and especially the role of these two superpowers, what they are doing?
Once again, Dr. Khanijo, Roshan, I take the liberty to call you so for organizing this very important event, and today is a very sad day for the world. And we have, as you rightly pointed out, the second phase of bombing had taken place on this very day, and we all feel sad about it, and the world also feels sad about it, and we all clamor for nuclear disarmament. So in this context and organizing this event called Nuclear Cues, Unpacking the Nuclear Threat is really a very thoughtful event, and I again compliment you for organizing this event. So as
Thank
you
you.
are asking where the relationship is heading towards, and we may recollect that the US and Russia have a very complex nuclear relationship. It is characterized by both cooperation and tension, and both nations have been engaging in some forms of dialogue, and they have been, and they are again going to talk. And today, I believe they are going to talk again. So there is some hope, and you rightly pointed out. This almost continued, at least in the nuclear domain, till the US President Donald Trump ordered last week, same on Friday, on August 1st, to position two nuclear submarines in the so-called appropriate reasons. In response to what they say, the remarks from the former Russian President Medvedev, and
Yes.
he called as in truly Trumpian style, police and inflammatory statements. He is not very, say, very polite with his words, so and he used that, and he said the threat was made by a former president of Russia, and we are going to protect our people by deploying two submarines. So that was there, and then earlier we can also recollect Medvedev had reminded Trump of Russia's doomsday nuclear strike capabilities, and he had used that fabled dead hand. And basically, it was a reference to a secretive, semi-automated Russian command system designed to launch Moscow nuclear missiles if its leadership had been taken out in a decapitating strike by an adversary. So that was the context, and Trump's also gave threat of hitting Russia and buyers of its oil with punitive traps. So basically, Medvedev provocation was that kind of a statement, which he called a game of ultimatums. And so this was the background in which they started taking place. But fortunately, Russia was very quiet and calm in
Yes.
responding to Donald Trump's action, I will say. And spokesperson, Ms. Peskov, say that American submarines are already on combat duty anyway, and dismissed the idea there had been any escalation. It was basically a rhetorical escalation, which
Yes.
we talked about. So that is the situation, and we know the U.S. has got a total of 14 Ohio class nuclear power submarine, and
Yes.
each of the submarine is capable of carrying about 24 Trident 2D5 ballistic missiles that can deliver multiple, I mean, thermonuclear warheads. It can deliver up to more than 4,600 miles away. So this is so, and it is also expected that about or between 8 and 10 Ohio class submarines are always deployed at one time.
Right.
So this is the situation, and so this is how things move. So this
Yeah.
is how things are moving.
I
So
know it is very immature of President Trump to talk about nuclear issues. I mean, he need not do that, but he has been doing this. I mean, you can't say that. If we go back a little bit, we found that America was the country which attacked the nuclear installation. We never heard of this kind of a thing that any country can do that, but they did that. Though there were news that Iran had already removed the enriched uranium from Fordo, and the damage which the Americans claims, they say they are not correct. And but there were also views that Iran has already got the bomb. So my question to you is: do you feel that they already have the bomb, and do they want to go the covert way like the Israelis? Or do you feel that, and secondly, as far as the attack on Fordo and other installations were concerned, do you feel that the uranium was already taken out from there? And thirdly, if uh, Iran wants to do a nuclear deal, what will be their conditions? Because they had been stating that we want to continue with our research reactors. So, do you feel they will come to the nuclear deal again? Because the trust is very low, so probably it will take some time. And what will be their main conditions for doing so? So, all these three questions, if you can highlight.
so three very important questions, and I would like to try to answer those questions. First, the first question was is the toughest one: whether Iran has got nuclear weapons or not. Actually, they had the capabilities when they increased the number of cascades. So scientists and the scientific community all over the world believed, and that they are up to something very serious. Means they, if they want, they may develop nuclear weapons. But fortunately, or if you see it from another perspective, unfortunately, you can say, because the way they were attacked, possibly another nuclear weapon countries would not have been attacked like this. But anyway, So, but it did not cross that Rubicon, what we call it. It did cross the threshold of so-called highly enriched uranium, but it did not cross the that kind of Rubicon, means a level whereby it could produce nuclear bombs. But when JCPOA, Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, which is also popularly known as Iranian nuclear deal, had US withdrawing from it, then there was again war of rhetorics started taking place. Initially, Iran was very restrained, but later on, it also started declaring, announced that yeah, so now it has not just 20 uh, percent of threshold it has crossed, but also then it say that now up to 60%, and some reports suggested that yeah, so it may have enriched up to 83%, and even IAEA had indicated towards that, and it was lapped up by some of the American think tanks, and they started analyzing that yeah, it has become almost nuclear weapons. So some this kind of statements were issued. Quite, of course, if you see it from the Israeli perspective, it was quite alarming for them also. So this went on. So I don't know. When we ask, even Israelis asked, "Are you sure of Iranian developing nuclear weapons, or they have already developed nuclear weapons?" No one has got that answer. Iran, we may have to trust Iranian statement that they have not developed nuclear weapons. Now coming to second point, very fast I will move. So second point about their their uranium, or you can say enriched uranium stockpile getting attacked. So I will just quote one letter issued by the IAEA chief, and he had basically address, or you can say address, let me call it, address by the IAEA chief to the board of governors, in which he said that there was a letter sent to him by Foreign Minister Dr. Abbas Arachi on 13th of June, means when attack was taking place or about to take place in from Israel, not by America, but from Israel uh, by Israel on Iran. He said that Iran had mentioned in that letter that it will adopt special measures. Again, I am quoting from that letter: special measures to protect our nuclear equipment and materials. And again, he said, in my response that same day, means on 13th of June, and I indicated that any transfer of nuclear materials from safeguard facility to another location in Iran must be declared to the agency as required under the Iran's IAEA safeguards agreement, and expressed my readiness to work with Iran on this matter. It means there was a consent, there was a move, there was a consent, and my argument is, or my analysis is, this kind of arrangement cannot be done without the Western or
Correct.
especially American consent. So, and he had also informed in IAEA chief that IAEA inspectors are already in Iran and they are ready. So now I again come back to this deal business. So initially they were very angry, and they were angry against IAEA also, and the parliament, Iranian parliament, the supreme leader, all stated past the judgment that they will not talk to Iran, IAEA, they will not say safeguards agreement is gone. But gradually they started talking to the Western powers, Europeans. They started, and they seem to be Iranians seem to be ready to talk to anyone, including America. And soon, I think it will be a matter of time that they will start negotiating, and they have indicated towards that also. Statements have also come, and by and large, now the goalpost has is shifted, and they are
Yes.
making the complete renunciation of nuclear enrichment by Iran, which Iran may not agree, and other powers may also say, okay, let us stick to some same old arrangement, some point here,
Yes.
some point there. This is what I think. So, yeah, what do you?
Absolutely. And one interesting thing was that in Iran, the Bushehr nuclear reactor, which is being uh, aided by the Russians, that was not touched. Because had that got damaged, a lot of leakage might have taken place and it would have impacted the neighboring countries also.
No, no, not only that. Look, what has emerged out of the entire drama, I will say it, and event. And if you read the statements made by American intelligence officials also, they were not interested in damaging or doing any act whereby
Yes.
radiation is reaching other parts, nearby parts. Not
Yes.
only, even in in the Iranian territory. So what they were interested to, it seems, was to damage the Iranian facilities without touching the uranium part or or any material which may have radiological fallout. I think this was the strategy and this was the careful planning they had made to do that. And if you just provoke them, they'll smile and they'll come out about and they'll state, yes, we are
Yes.
responsible nation, we country. We know what may happen if we really attack
Yeah.
all those parts. So not only Iranians or Iran which will be damaged or which will be affected adversely, but even 40,000 American troops are stationed in that part.
Absolutely.
So I mean,
Absolutely.
they will also be affected. So they know, and if you read their statement, they'll say it will take a few. And initially, they say few months. Then they
Yes.
started. It will take some time. Then they'll say a couple of years. In fact, I in my television interview said, okay, not months, but yes, a couple of years will be suffice for Iran to again rebuild its all the facilities which had been damaged by the two
I
attacks by
think,
Iran,
yes, I think it was all
America.
staged kind of a thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So,
So they're sending the strong messaging, signaling
yes,
to Iran.
yes.
Yes.
So, coming now closer to our neighborhood, now let's talk about Pakistan. We know that Pakistan's nuclear blackmail has been exposed in operational in Sindhu, and India clearly showed that a conventional space does exist. And by the nuclear rhetorics, Pakistan is creating problem for itself, and especially for its nuclear assets, because accidents can happen with TNWs. As also, when we damaged Pakistani air base, which were close to headquarters of Pakistan Strategic Plans Division, we had shown them our reach. So now, in your views, what do you think Pakistan's nuclear posture? I don't think they are going to change, or what any changes will be there, because what is happening is we are pushing them to have a more higher nuclear threshold. I mean, they were saying we are going to lower it down, but it's not going to work. So, what are your views on Pakistan's nuclear trajectory?
Look, Pakistan knows what they can do and what they cannot do it. And they knew it from the very beginning.
Yeah.
Only thing is they were just pushing. And they were trying to somehow penetrate into the vulnerable Western or other parts, not just Western, other parts of the world. And somehow they try to scare them and scare them that there will be some India, Pakistan, or South Asia. I don't know South Asia. Why did they are still there? Now it has come. Now they are hardly using the term South Asia, but earlier they used the term South Asia, nuclear conflagration, flashpoints. So always this was a tactic. This was a Pakistani tactic to somehow mobilize international public opinion to put pressure on India, which some earlier at least showed its willingness to take some conventional action against Pakistan, and later on it started taking. Post Uri, we have started seeing that up different levels, India started taking action. So they went to the world and they go to the world with this kind of language. Initially, the world was basically singing their tune. Gradually, they understood that this is Pakistan's game plan. So were many appeared muted. Some knew that what would happen if Pakistan really does any misadventure, because it cannot do a misadventure with another nuclear weapon country. Which is not saying that it will use nuclear weapon, and it has, and the country which has been expressing its doctrine that it is committed to no first use, and it is also not going to use it against any of its adversary which doesn't have nuclear weapons. So, like India, when was under crisis, or you can say when in China India border crisis was on, and generally India is perceived to be an conventionally less powerful country. Although there could be debate, there is a very good analysis made by some of the NDU people, and they say when it comes to confrontation between India and China, I don't think India will be defeated by China. India has also developed its naval capability. And second, China will have to cross all the way to come to fight India in its domain or in its backyard. So that will be disadvantage China. Plus, our air force is not that weak. Okay, numerically China appears very powerful. Even in the naval domain, it appears powerful than even more powerful than even United States. So, but its quality one can debate, discuss. That's
Yes.
far. So, so that was the situation, and but we acted, restrained ourselves very
Yes.
responsibly, and we never used N word even against China
Absolutely.
to
Absolutely.
to to deter it, and the world knows it that there will be no this. There is, as you had very nicely pointed out in your opening remarks, and that after Hiroshima Nagasaki there is no nuclear weapons used even by the most powerful country which does not expect any reprisal from a non-nuclear weapon country. So that is the world. That is what is called nuclear taboo existing in the world. So I don't think even in the future Pakistan will dare to u- use this nuclear weapon. This rhetoric will continue. But yeah, you have
Absolutely.
rightly pointed out, we demonstrated in the Operation Sindoor. Then when it comes to the action, we comes to the crunch, we can damage any part of Pakistan. And I don't know whether it is symbolically or substantially information is trickling. And Sargodha and other parts were damaged considerably. Of course, nuclear weapons, I'm sure, remained untouched. And I don't think India's intention is to, again, is not to do anything which can somehow really lead to release of radiological fallouts or
Yes.
radiation. So that's there, but they know that it is there. As you rightly pointed out, their bluff has been called, and some people in West and in some other countries, by habit, keep saying there will be exchange, nuclear exchange between the two. And there was an interview by the former American president, and he was somehow complimented by former Pakistani, in American president to Pakistan during Balakot. And they say, yeah, both sides had prepared their nuclear assets and there was a danger. So this is old mindset which exists.
Yes.
Old mindsets have to go, and I think it has gone.
Yes.
But somehow, I think what
Yes.
Trump administration did was something other than what we say that nuclear fear.
Yes, absolutely. With Trump, we know what the ulterior motive was and what it is. We all know
Yes,
about it. And Pakistan, we know they are propaganda masters. So whether it is the nuclear doctrine, when they talk about nuclear weapons developing from 0 meters to 2,000 kilometers, all those things, we know that it's The substance is very less. I mean, you can keep on talking about so many things. But you were talking about China, and I would like to bring in China now here. We know the China's nuclear trend, if we try to see, it has improved its missiles not only qualitatively, but it is also increasing the number, because that was seen, that increase in number of silos which we find in China. And they have also developed the launch on warning capabilities, though they talk about no first use. But domestically, there are scholars, they talk about conditions where they might use the nuclear weapons first. And thirdly, the technologically, if we try to see, they have developed dual-use hypersonic weapons, which we know is a little dangerous, because apart from the speed and maneuverability, which it can create recessed decision time, but there is also, considering they are dual-use, there's also warhead ambiguity, and it has a potential to hit critical targets. So it can increase the dilemma of the other nation whether to use your nuclear weapons early on or to lose it. And it can also thus lower the threshold and impact deterrence.
No,
And
no,
other area where they are increasing is the space. In the space, if we see, they have made lots of progress. I think now they are the second largest country in the world as far as the space exploration is concerned, and they have already shown that they can, what they can do with anti-satellite weapons. And if it gets impacted, then a nation's early warning systems, BMD capabilities, all are going to get compromised. So I would like to ask you three basic questions. What is your view as far as the nuclear trajectory of China is concerned? Secondly, do you feel that their new no first use is going to hold, or they are saying it because it is advantageous to them at present, but they can drop it if they find that things are adversely different? And how are the EDTs going to impact? Are they going to impact the nuclear deterrence or the nuclear stability? And since China is developing, will it have a cascading? It has already, I think, they started having a cascading effect with us also, because we don't want to increase the gap between the two countries. So all these things, if you can answer.
no. All three very good questions. China's nuclear trajectory. Once they called it paper tiger, but they know this is a tool. Now it has become their nuclear weapons have become their tool for hegemony, and in fact they are trying to, of course, they're trying to match the sole superpower or the United States, even if you don't use this terms like major powers, great powers, superpowers, because all are slightly subjective terms. How you justify the terms. So that's fine. But yeah, United States, no one can deny it's the most powerful country of the world. This is one. But it is not that they are sparing any of their neighbors. They are trying, the way they are intimidating, the way they are scaring their neighbors, and there, as you have rightly pointed out about hypersonics. Hypersonic has not been used for that technology is not being used for ICBM. This is for intermediate range ballistic missiles. So they have got their ideas clear. Maybe it is for American bases, that part is also there, that we can give them some concession, anti-denial, anti-access kind of.
Access terms.
So okay, let us concede, but fine. But it means for both. They are developing new technologies for both, or whether we call it emerging technology or not. So nuclear, what China is doing, it is trying to modernize its arsenals and nuclear arsenals and delivery capabilities, not in a transparent way. So the world has to keep guessing what it is really doing. So although it doesn't say that how many nuclear weapons, whether in strategic domain or in the tactical domain, it has got. So it has left everyone guessing. So some may say, some analysts, especially Americans, those who are sympathetic to China, may say that, oh, it has already suspended production of its fissile material, so it is not doing that. So it is, but others say that, okay, it is increasing its arsenal, it is modernizing its warheads. So that part is there, and it is It is one of the, not only currently the biggest buyer of uranium. It has got fast breeder reactor, which is adding
Yes,
to its fissile material, which it may easily convert into bomb, nuclear bomb.
absolutely.
That part is there, and unfortunately, our friend Russia is also helping it in this task. And Russia doesn't need uranium, but it has got its subsidiaries in Kazakhstan. So, and these subsidiaries are not purchasing or not transferring uranium to Russia. It has got excess fissile material and excess uranium already, so it doesn't need. So it is basically selling it to Iran, to China, and even China is directly purchasing it from Kazakhstan. This again, this old place, the Central Asia. It is very
Yes,
interesting political uh, plays or political game, what we call, is taking place there, and Western countries and Russia and its friends, including now China, is even acting autonomously in this region. And yes, it has got mixed response from these countries. So that part is there. So it is from all over. It is purchasing uranium, some of the uranium, some of the Western think tanks, even our analysts or our intelligence people believe, where some of the uranium had been transferred to Pakistan also, because Pakistan's Dera Ghazi Khan locality had the problem of uranium mining. So this is how China is operating highly irresponsibly, and NPT, Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty country, is not acting responsibly. This is the status.
absolutely.
So this is the trajectory that it is modernizing its arsenal. It is DF-31, DF-41. These are not only the ICBMs which are receiving its attention, but also short range, intermediate range, and medium range. It has got its own classification of delivery vehicles. It doesn't believe in NATO's designation. So that part is also there. Now coming to non-first use, no first use policy. No first use policy, everybody knows that China is master of deception. And
Deception.
you never know. But as early in this segment we talked about, fortunately, there is nuclear taboo existing in the world, and it is existing not only on the countries which have pronounced no first use, but also those who have not. So that part is existing. Hopefully that exists, and this is our uh, hope. But we cannot trust China. You should not think of your policy that, okay, China is having no first use policy, so we'll be sticking to that. So you will have to closely monitor developments. You rightly pointed out some of the academician, one uh, unofficial document that floats all over, and translated version, and they don't deny. The most important part is that don't deny. They don't own it up, but they don't deny, and they say that, yeah, this kind of scenario building we all do. So when I talk to them, so they say actually they don't have idea about that, but that is not impossible, because we also have to keep tab of the developments which are taking strategic development taking place. So we build scenario. So that's fine. That
Absolutely.
is their point. So we should also be building our own scenario, and we should not take time to renounce even our own no first use policy when really time requires. So that is not. So this is second about last point about disruptive technologies. China is using these technologies, and it is trying to develop it indigenously. But there are several good reports there. There was a report by ASPI. There is a report by Washington Post. There is American own government has reported, and even Bureau of Industry and Security has come out with a report. And in all these reports they have maintained that some of these technologies were procured by very deceptive methods, which I have been repeatedly saying. And they sent some of the researchers, and there is four methods of Chinese procurement. A very famous report had come out. and it gives the pattern of Chinese procurement and how they are refining their system, their cruise missiles to their other capability, their warhead. So all have are in the public domain. So one can easily read that. So yes, it is using that, and it is helping, or it is, as your first question was, it is the disruptive technologies are helping Chinese nuclear trajectory. This is what we can say. We hope
I
that
think
it.
yes, what you rightly pointed out was about the nuclear fissile material, because it's very essential to map the nuclear fissile material, because it will give you an idea how many bombs a country can make. And China is quite comfortable in that, both uranium as well as plutonium, because it has nuclear reactors where it can convert, reprocessing can be done, and the plutonium can be created for the plutonium bombs. And they can also use miniaturized bombs, and especially in there was a view that they might go in for their submarines and other areas where they can use it. And secondly, they also have the DF-21, which is IRBM, which can also have us as a target apart from Japan and other US bases. So another area what I wanted to talk, there's a lot of talk about China. Will they use nuclear weapon against Taiwan? My own take is that firstly, China would first like to maintain the status quo. They would not like to take Taiwan, firstly. And if possible, make it more in its favor through all the non kinetic means, whatever propaganda or whatever they want to do it. Secondly, if they are pushed and if they want to take it, then I think it'll go full throttle. But the nuclear weapon will be the last in the ladder. That's what I feel, because they will try to control the situation with conventional as well as non kinetic means. But the nuclear weapon will be the last option. So, what are your take on this? Because a lot
No,
of
no,
debate takes place on this.
no, I completely agree with you that they are very confident Chinese that they can, whenever they want to just grab Taiwan, they can do it. But somehow they know that it won't be easy because US has to get involved because of this Taiwan Relations Act. So what yesterday there was a very good report in Financial Times. It was the front page story. What China is doing in Taiwan, how it is in sabotaging it internally, and it is trying to mobilize internal forces, especially political forces, to just grab it and get it merged into so-called mainland China. So that they are using all the tactics. So I completely agree that they may not use nuclear weapon, and I don't think they are going to use. But their point is that nuclear Taiwan is not a country, so their no first use is against a country. So, but they say it very casually. I don't think they mean it. So if you use it against Taiwan, so it is we are not violating our place, our doctrine. So basically, we are testing it in our own country. So this kind of a stupid statement sometimes China Chinese scholars generally informally make, or that too very tongue-in-cheek remarks. But in general, I don't think they are going to use it. So I agree with you.
So moving on to North Korea, we cannot complete the discussion without talking about North Korea. So we know that North Korea has increased its arsenal from 40 to now, I think 90 or so, 90 plus. It is trying to diversify its arsenal. It has tested its ICBM. It is building SLBMs, which has not yet been proved, but they claim that they have got it. And the thing is, of late, they have tried to develop TNWs. And their doctrine, especially, it has stated that it is irreversible as far as nuclear issues are concerned, and they are going to use it preemptively. So, what do you make of all these postures and how it is going to impact East Asia?
Look, North Korea is a very unique case. It is a constitutionally nuclear weapon country. Others are constitutionally secular, socialist, republican, but it is a nuclear weapon country. I don't think any other country has got this kind of constitutional sanction. This is one. This is another, again another country which withdrew from the NPT and then it developed its nuclear weapon. So, and third is that yes, it has got its own rhetoric in its reason, although it's regional, say allies, or you can say especially adversaries, so-called adversaries. Somehow they don't are very look. They don't look. I will say they look very concerned about its nuclear arsenals. Sometimes I found that they are very non-serious about North Korean nuclear arsenals, and somehow this makes their deterrence slightly difficult because if your adversary is not getting deterred, then what will you do? I don't think even America takes it very seriously. Again, it has started talking about engaging it, but it has been, you are right that it has been diversifying. And when it had conducted its first test, at that time also no one talked about that its nuclear arsenal will really bring nuclear insecurity. So they know the leadership that they are not very serious people, and they will not use nuclear weapons. So this is one part. So their credibility of deterrence, nuclear deterrence, is undermined because others don't take them seriously. The North Korean regime seriously. This is one part. Second, you rightly mentioned out its diversification, ICBMs to everything. It is showing that it has done, and plus it also tested again hydrogen test, which many said it was a boosted fission device. So whatever, but yeah, at least officially it has got hydrogen bomb or for its deterrence structure or deterrence force structure, nuclear force structure will have hydrogen bomb. Plus now it has successfully that part. Missile part, I believe that generally it is
Long
very
way.
difficult to
Yes.
block. So the way satellites monitor uh, the testing. So I think it may have technology. It may have taken it from China or from other source. Whatever it is very active. So it even if it possesses all the arsenals, so I don't think any of its never is really scared of it. It does bargaining after that. So it again wants to do bargaining. It wants to take some concessions, economic concession, this concession, and not a strategic kind of concessions it generally wants. As for Korean denuclearization of Korea,
I was about to ask you, okay, what about
when
denuclearization? Because I don't think it will happen because North Korea is not going to go back off.
earlier it indicated when first all three rounds between United States and North Korean talks, it looked that yeah, it will do something closer to it. But in the later rounds, it completely renounced, and there was no declaration also about it. And some what is the most intriguing is even South Korea doesn't appear very serious about it. The moment there is a test, there'll be I don't know what kind of public opinion outcry, whatever say, to build nuclear weapons. So this is very puzzling. And somehow Japan remains quiet. So when you talk about East Asia, despite unlike the West Asian region, it has been very quiet despite North Koreans rhetorical, North Korean tests, all kinds of tests. Basically, other parts are more worried about that than the East Asian neighbors.
But
So
I would like to just add one more question to you before we take questions from the audience. Do you think there will be an increase in the number of nuclear weapon states? Because there are two things which we need to consider. Firstly, the American umbrella, which is there in Asia, as far as South Korea and Japan is there. So, President Trump, if he says, you already has said you spend more for your defense, and Japan has already increased its this thing. One is that area, and the second is in Europe. In Europe, there were a lot of views that they need to become more nuclear. Like Poland has stated that it will keep all its option open, including nuclear. though it may be a long time, but the thought process has started. And NATO also has told countries in Europe to increase their defense production. So the amount of money they give it for the defense, it has to increase, and it's already increasing. I think it is 3% now, or 3 to 4%. So in this kind of a situation, what are your views? How it is going to pan out in, say, 5 to 10 years?
No, they were quite right. So Europeans appear to be very serious about developing their own European defense nuclear deterrence. So they are talking about, and not very interestingly, actually, generally media, international media also, and journals did not talk about that. But if you talk to the strategic community or some of the very influential strategicians or policy makers of that region, they're already working on it. And they're working on it for many, I have been working on it for many years. And they were earlier also worked on it. So I know some of the people who work for very prestigious, I cannot name them because they told me in confidence. So, but these people have already got projects. And interestingly, even country like Sweden, they consider to be very peaceful, and Norway and other countries, non-nuclear weapon countries, generally away from even NATO's thing, they are also discussing about it. Their policymakers have given projects to some experts to think about that. So a new thinking has taken place, but there is a gray area in that thinking.
Yes.
That gray thing, they may contribute to those who already have got nuclear weapons. They may monetarily contribute. Maybe this is all being discussed. But as France has come out to provide the nuclear umbrella to European countries, so some of these countries which had struggled to justify the existence of their nuclear arsenals when NATO already provided them nuclear umbrella may have a robust argument to say that okay, so now we have got. So this is one part. Second part is Trump's rhetoric and Trump's statements. And if you ask Japanese, suppose America withdraws its nuclear weapons umbrella, will you go nuclear? Also, yes, in that situation, we may go. But immediately they add, we are confident that US will not do so.
Not good. Yes.
So this is nuclear establishment forces inside United States will definitely will not allow it to happen. And if you just check Trump's pattern of giving a statement and withdrawing or making very, he's too flexible. You don't know what he says now, what he'll say after 1 hour, or what he'll say in the morning. So
Absolutely.
Trump's statements should not be taken very seriously, and especially on very serious matters. For trade and other issues, yes, he is basically bargaining. But just see how what he did to China. He announced a
Yes.
high tariff, and the way he backed down. So
Yes.
this is what Trump is.
Very.
So this is what I would say.
Shall we take few questions now?
Definitely.
Mr. Akash Tharani is a regular in our podcast. He asks, nuclear weapons are at best a deterrence for battles and wars to escalate beyond a certain threshold. However, when you consider the gray zone, it appears to be a free for all. Your views?
Gray zone is a very dangerous zone for nuclear weapons. So I think they will not try to enter into gray zone. Gray zone will also be the deterrence zone, where they can make statements, and still they will try to give signaling, and they will try to persuade, or you can say compel their adversaries that they should give some concessions. Move beyond that, I don't think there is any role as of now. And many thought of brinkmanship and on age third another nuclear weapon taking place within the Ukrainian Russian theater, but it did not happen. And it
Yes.
did not happen. Had Russia wanted to use nuclear weapons, I don't think NATO would have stepped in. So that part is there. This is all. This is nuclear weapon is, of course, it is unfortunate that it is still again back in security discourse. So it
It's
was
become a
appeared,
bargaining power.
yeah, so appeared disappearing from security discourse. So it is back in the security discourse. Yet it is now Trump did some adventure by deploying or sending or giving statements that two of its submarines are deployed there. Other than that, initially it was a public opinion making exercise. Westerners were using the N word to scare the world that Russia is going to use nuclear weapons, and Russia was using the
Is
N word
using it not to
to get
involve them in
concession
the
from Western countries. No, please don't use it, otherwise my nuclear
yes.
arsenals are ready. So beyond that, now we saw it is just statements. These were and I in fact, I had written an article that is on the IDSA website, and I have written that's information warfare, we sometimes we call it, and force multipliers, what some you call it,
Yes.
how media is used or is being used. And I have written that how media used, even our media fell, somehow became a victim. That one paragraph, if same paragraph or one sentence, if you just produce one part, it will give a different meaning. If half sentence, then it will give a different meaning.
Absolutely.
So how you use these words. So
Yes.
basically it was a very interesting case. I think we should, once the war is over, with those Dr. Khanijo and person like me who work on it should do some serious study that how this was manipulated through
Manipulated.
media,
Yes.
statements
Absolutely.
were manipulated, and how many doctrines were created out of it. So that part is there.
Information warfare and narrative building has become an art nowadays, and the country who doesn't have it lags behind. So, there's another question Anusuya is asking, with a lot of discussion around the nuclear treaties. And are the current nuclear treaties failing?
They have failed. So Anusua is a bright
Absolutely.
person, and I know that she knows that it has failed. All the treaties have failed. Only one treaty is existing, and that may also fail if they don't do anything. By if the war doesn't end, and if Trump is basically very non-serious about these treaties, because he believes that nuclear weapons will not be used. These are just to be just stated. So by 2026, new START treaty is to be extended, and it has already been suspended by Russia. So yes, it is in crisis, and the last treaty is in crisis. So now, of course, the countries are talking about nuclear weapons in space and so many things. So that's there, but yes, space is being used for or being integrated. Space assets are being integrated with the command and control system, but that is a different thing. But there are serious works going. There are many serious works going on about that. So that, and whether the old treaties can be amended to avoid this kinds of situation. Just this is a very challenging part. So whether we
This is
should.
the last question which we'll take from Khushi Singh. She says, what is the point of a country possessing nuclear power if there is no first use policy? Should it be legal to respond to a nuclear attack with nuclear power?
Yes, it will be illegal to attack
Yes.
with nuclear weapon. Kind of. Nuclear power means nuclear weapons. I think she means that. So I assume that this is what she is wishing. But no first use. When you talk about no first use, this is what was generally talked about when both sides recently, when China and Russia and America started discussing about uh, how to when they may use nuclear weapons. At least signaling was done, and that was called a commitment trap. So if you are having no first use, then at least you are clear that it will not be used until unless you are attacked with nuclear weapons. Or there is again gray zone area which someone talked about. That could be there will be a gray zone when that is called launch on warning. When you
Yes.
know that someone is really going to attack you, so will you wait to be attacked and or bear the brunt, or you can do some preemptive strike, or that could be by non-nuclear weapon country or by non-nuclear weapon also, and by nuclear weapons also. If you feel that yes, conventional munition may not be enough to just neutralize that threat, so then you may use it, and all the time it is legal. This is what I will say. And so other than that, I think if you don't have no first use weapon, and you have got what Pakistan has been saying, if you cross 2 kilometer, half kilometer, your survival is at stake. How will you define it? And then
Yes.
once you are in democracy, then you have to define the threshold. When are you going to use nuclear weapon? So, because it is for your security, you are saying that it is for security, it is for deterring India's conventional superiority, or anybody, ABC. So, then you are under pressure to use nuclear weapons. If you don't use it, then you will have it. If you use it, then what will happen? Then what amount, what could be the quantity of nuclear weapons you are going to use it? And if your adversary is also a nuclear weapon country, and you are not completely annihilating its nuclear arsenals, then you cannot determine how much attack you can have. So these parts are there. So no first use policy, of course, had its own advantages and disadvantages. When you you are sending very feeble signal to your adversary. In that case, that your when your deterrence is not taken seriously. But now what is happening in India? What we are saying, we have got nuclear weapons, and we are saying that tomorrow, if anyone attacks us with nuclear weapons, or you are trying to do nuclear blackmail, then we are confident what we can do.
Yes,
So
absolutely. And
this
if you
is
see our doctrine also, it states that the second strike will be very massive and
massive.
punitive. That's we are
Exactly.
saying. And actually, Pakistan has got caught in its own doctrine. I mean, if
Yes.
you see closely, by saying by talking about nuclear weapons so loosely, that shows their immaturity because you cannot use it. And nuclear weapons is for a particular purpose, and you have to respect that because you, after seeing the potentiality and the lethality, what it does. So
Mhm.
you cannot. So I would just like to ask you, how is India's nuclear trajectory moving? So it would be a good
No,
thing because though we have a no first view, but we are also progressing very fast as far as the nuclear trajectory is going. So if you can show some light on that.
no, actually, we have been making clear through informal, formal statements. It is tailored to our doctrine. So we will not have credible minimum deterrence. So that part is there. We are a new entrant. So obviously we'll have to build our arsenals plus delivery vehicles. And the most important arsenal which we generally believed was, and many of our strategic pundits uh, and say visualized, or you can say demanded, or they've thought, was that we must have uh, ballistic missile which can reach any part of China. And
Absolutely.
Agni 5 say fulfill that dream.
Yes.
So you can say the
Absolutely.
vision. So we have got trad, and that trad is really getting
Yes.
modernized. And we are aware that technological developments taking place all over the world and around us and among and of our adversaries also. So we
And
cannot
even our
lose.
K15 and K5s, I mean, K15 was
Yes, I will
less
not go
used, and
into that kind of
K5s are,
details.
but
But
we have
yes,
good, I mean, we are
but
building
yes,
step by step.
so yes, we are doing, and broadly we are strengthening our trad, which we initially visualized to do, and we are ready once it.
Yes.
So that's the thing. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Rajiv. We had
Thank
discussed
you
so
very
many
much.
things. Actually, the whole global arena we have discussed, and thank you so much for your time. And
Thank
I
you.
would also like to thank all our viewers for this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.